Have you ever been deep in a project, just absolutely crushing it, and then suddenly you hit a wall? Like a complete mental shutdown where you can't even string a sentence together. Well, that's not you failing. That is a system hitting its breaking point. And today we are going to break down the science of that crash and give you the exact system to stop it before it even starts.
The reason you suddenly crash and can't think straight isn't a random occurrence. It's a predictable, measurable physiological event. We'll show you the exact moment your brain crosses the line from focused output to total burnout. And here's the central paradox of high performance. We're taught that to get more done, we have to push harder, to maximize every single second. But the truth is, maximizing your effort is the one thing that guarantees a catastrophic system collapse. Think of a developer trying to debug code late at night, or a lawyer on hour 7 of a complex contract review. They push, and then nothing. It's all just noise. This isn't about willpower, it's about physics. We're talking about the overload threshold, and understanding this is the key to sustainable, elite performance.
All right, so if this collapse is so predictable, how do we actually predict it? Well, the first step is to diagnose it properly. To beat the enemy, you have to know the enemy. So let's get past this vague feeling of just being overwhelmed and look at what is really going on, neurologically and physiologically. We're going to put that brain fog right under the microscope and see the exact chain reaction that leads to a total shutdown. So what is really happening inside your brain during that cognitive crash? You know the moment, when you go from feeling sharp and focused to completely confused and exhausted in like a matter of minutes. What biological switch just got flipped? Look, this is not some mystery you just have to suffer through. It is a specific, traceable chain reaction, and once you see the steps, you can finally learn how to step in and break the chain before it's too late. It all starts right here, with something called working memory saturation. The easiest way to think about your working memory is like the RAM on your computer. It's that temporary space your brain uses to hold and juggle information for whatever you're working on right now. It's incredibly powerful, but here's the catch: it is finite. When you're trying to juggle 10 projects, manage constant interruptions, and keep track of everything, you completely flood that space. Every single open loop, that email you forgot to send, that call you need to return, that little worry about a deadline, all of it is eating up your mental RAM, leaving you with zero processing power for the thing that actually matters. And this is where the real damage starts. Because when your working memory is totally saturated, it pushes the command and control center of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, or PFC, way past its breaking point. The PFC is your brain's CEO. It's in charge of complex planning, making smart decisions, and regulating your emotions. But when it gets overloaded by all these frantic signals from a saturated working memory, it just can't function. Your ability to think strategically, to make good calls, to control your impulses, it all starts to crumble. It's like the CEO is being bombarded by a dozen department heads all shouting for attention at once. And the result? A total system shutdown.
This overload then triggers the final nail in the coffin. When your PFC goes offline, your brain's ancient threat detection system kicks in. It sees this cognitive chaos as a genuine survival threat, and it hits the big red button, a massive system-wide spike in the stress hormone cortisol. And here's the crucial, ironic part. Cortisol actively inhibits executive function. It's designed to shut down long-term planning so you can focus on fight or flight. So the very hormone your body releases to help you in a crisis is the chemical that locks you into a state of brain fog and irritability, making it literally impossible to do the complex work that caused all the stress in the first place.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. It's a vicious cycle. A saturated working memory leads to PFC overload, which triggers a cortisol spike, and bam, cognitive crash. But now we shift from diagnosis to control. This is not about accepting the crash. This is about installing a brand new operating system for your mind. We're going to build a structured 3-part defense system that lets you manage this whole process and stay in control long before a crash is even on the horizon.
And here are the 3 pillars of your new operating system. First, the cognitive load meter. This is your real-time early warning system. Second, the 70% load rule, your strategic buffer against chaos. And third, the Task Offloading Protocol, your emergency pressure release valve. Together, these 3 tools are going to give you complete control over your cognitive state. Let's break each one down. Your brain is giving you data all the time. You just need to learn how to read the dashboard. The cognitive load meter isn't some app, it's a set of internal cues you need to listen for. The first is task fragmentation. You find yourself jumping from an email to a document to a Slack message without ever finishing anything. Your focus is splintering. The second is micro errors. You're making dumb typos, rereading the same sentence over and over, clicking the wrong file. Your brain's quality control is failing. And third, emotional reactivity. A tiny inconvenience feels like a huge crisis. A simple question feels like a personal attack. That's your overloaded PFC failing to regulate your emotions. These aren't just bad feelings. They are objective data points telling you you're approaching your limit.
Now, once your meter goes off, you need a rule to follow, and this is the 70% load rule. You have to structurally undercommit your time and energy, consciously operating at no more than 70% of what you feel is your max capacity. Why? Because that other 30%, it's not empty space. It's a mandatory buffer. Think about it. No system, whether it's a bridge or your brain, can run at 100% capacity without being incredibly fragile. That 30% buffer is the slack you need to handle unexpected problems, sudden changes, and new opportunities. Running at 100% all the time leaves you with zero resilience. This buffer is not laziness, it's a strategic necessity that keeps you in your optimal zone and prevents that PFC overload.
So, what do you actually do when the alarm on your cognitive load meter goes off, telling you you've hit that 70% mark? You immediately deploy the Task Offloading Protocol. 3 steps. First, a mind dump. Get every single open loop out of your head and onto a piece of paper. Just externalizing it frees up critical RAM. Second, high leverage subtraction. Look at that list and be ruthless. Right now, delegate or just flat out delete 1 to 3 items. This is not about reorganizing for later. It's about reducing the load now. And finally, the renewal break. A mandatory, non-negotiable 20-minute reset. Physically stepping away allows your brain's neural networks to reset and clear out all that cognitive clutter.
Okay, so we've got the what and the how. But for this system to really stick, you have to understand the why. This isn't just a collection of clever productivity hacks. It's a framework built on the fundamental principles of how your brain actually performs at its best. So let's quickly peek at the neuroscience, because understanding this is what's going to make it second nature.
Your brain has 2 basic operating modes, what the psychologist Daniel Kahneman called System 1 and System 2. System 1 is your autopilot. It's fast, automatic, your gut reaction. System 2 is your conscious, deliberate mind. It's slow, it takes effort, and it's responsible for your absolute best, most complex work. When you're in PFC overload, your brain defaults to that reactive, error-prone System 1, and it's all fueled by high cortisol. Our entire defense system is designed to keep you out of that state and keep you operating in the calm, strategic, high-quality zone of System 2.
So what you get is a triple win. First, obviously, the system prevents PFC overload by actively managing your cognitive load. You're conserving your executive function like it's a precious resource. Second, it allows you to harness System 2 fluency, which means you spend more of your time in that optimal state of rational, high-quality thought. But the third benefit is psychological, and it might be the most powerful of all. It strengthens your self-efficacy. Every single time you spot the cues and use these tools to prevent a crash, you prove to yourself that you are in control. You build this deep trust in your own ability to manage your limits, which in turn reduces the very anxiety that contributes to overload in the first place.
All right. Now that you know the what, the how, and the why, let's make this dead simple. This is where theory meets the road. We are now at the most practical part of this whole thing, your non-negotiable protocol. 3 simple steps you can start using the second this is over to take immediate command of your cognitive system.
Here is your exact plan. Step 1. Implement the meter. Starting tomorrow, consciously pay attention to task fragmentation, micro-errors, and emotional reactivity. The moment you spot any 2 of those cues, that's it. That's your objective alarm bell telling you you've hit 70%. Step 2. Enforce the rule. When that alarm rings, you must stop what you are doing. Do not power through. Take exactly 5 minutes and perform a high-leverage subtraction. Open your to-do list and just delete 1 task, or send 1 email to delegate something. And step 3. Mandate the reset. If the pressure is still high, enforce a 20-minute structural reset. And I mean no screens. Screens are cognitive input. Go for a walk, listen to music, just stare out the window. A physical, non-digital break is absolutely required.
Let's make this even simpler. This is your action trigger table. It's an if-then protocol. Psychologists call it an implementation intention. And it's so powerful because it preloads a decision so you don't need willpower when you're already stressed. The signal is the 2Q alarm. When you notice any 2 of the 3 warning signs, your immediate action is stop, subtract, reset. Stop taking on new stuff, subtract from your current list, reset with a physical break. Seriously, put this on a sticky note on your monitor. This is the algorithm that prevents burnout.
Okay, let's pull back for the big picture here. What we've really been talking about isn't just about avoiding a bad afternoon.
It's about a fundamental shift in how you relate to your own mind. It's about going from being a passenger in your own cognitive vehicle, just careening toward a crash, to actually taking the wheel. It's about moving from being a victim of burnout to being the master of your own cognitive system.
So if there's one thing you take away, let it be this. Burnout is not a surprise attack. It's not a moral failing or some sign of weakness. It is a predictable failure to manage a quantifiable biological limit. I mean, you wouldn't show up to run a marathon with zero training and expect to just will yourself to the finish line, right? So why do we expect our brains, the most complex systems in the known universe, to run an endless marathon at a full sprint day in and day out? The crash isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. Your job is to work with the system, not against it.
So here's your challenge. Not next week, not when things calm down, tomorrow. I want you to commit to implementing just the very first step, the cognitive load meter. Just pay attention. Listen for the data your brain is giving you, the fragmentation, the errors, the reactivity. That awareness all by itself is the most critical step you can take. Remember, your goal is not to recover from the crash faster. Your goal is to stop the crash before it ever starts.
Let's wrap this masterclass. The Overload Threshold Framework solves the problem of cognitive burnout and those sudden crashes. And why this matters is because it gives you a systematic way to conserve your executive function and maintain incredibly high-quality output. The cognitive load meter and the 70% load rule are the specific tools you'll use to keep your prefrontal cortex from getting saturated. And what that does is it prevents the release of cortisol that causes the crash and locks you in that brain fog. So just remember this: productivity isn't about doing more. It's about mastering systems that make focus effortless.